Welcome to Stuff and Waffle, two friends talking about stuff, and often as not, waffling.
Right, so picking up where we left off from last episode, leading in from the worst cars, we said we'd start with the best cars we'd owned and driven.
Yeah, very interesting subject, because best is such a subjective thing, isn't it? I mean, best in practical terms, most reliable, most fun, cheapest.
This is true. I mean, mind you, that we saw how the worst cars went, and obviously you had an X-Type which never worked, and that wasn't the worst one. So...
I had an X-Type that fell to pieces. I mean, what more do you need? Yes, yes, indeed. So, very disappointing.
Let's start with yours. Let's say, what's the best car you've ever owned?
Best car I've owned. It won't be any of the Fords. Not that I'm down on Ford. It just won't be any of the three that I had. Best car. Well, see, the very obvious choice is the current car, the Tesla Model S.
Yep.
Because that is just an extraordinary vehicle. And in terms of electric cars, certainly has the best technology that currently exists.
Yep.
And in terms of acceleration, it'll melt your face. And I've got the slow one. So that's the obvious choice, and would certainly feature high on any list. But in terms of certainly interior build quality, it's not the best. And I do like a faster state. So my XFS Sport Brake Jag would feature very prominently because that was a wonderful car. I didn't have it for that long, but it never let me down. That was the car I traded in for the Tesla, and I still not 100% sure that was the best thing to have done. That's not to say that I'm disappointed with the Tesla in any way, or think that electric cars are not the right way to go. They clearly are. But the XF Sport Brake was a faster state car. It's a Jag. It was cool, and I really, really liked that car. It was dependable. It had everything on it. It was the top of the range. It had the V6, 3-litre V6 engine. It made a wonderful noise. It was, So it's a toss-up for me, really, between the XF Sport Brake and the Tesla Model S. Two very different vehicles. The Tesla would probably win it.
That's interesting.
But it's a tough one.
It's interesting you say that, because listening to you describe them, it seems you're more sort of poetic and wistful about the XF.
Yeah, I'd say I probably am. There's something about a Jag. I've always felt more of a horrible phrase, but more sort of brand connection to Jaguar. Tesla, maybe they haven't existed for long enough to sort of cultivate that kind of feeling. I don't know what it is. It's brilliant, and I love it. But yeah, I don't know. The Jag was special. And I think I would feel that possibly about any Jag. I really liked the X-Type, even though it fell to pieces around me. I did like it. I liked how it looked. It was a lovely place to sit. I did like it.
Comes back to the brand, doesn't it?
It does, and I hate having the kind of brand, being susceptible to that kind of brand marketing. But I kind of am. And even when looking at cars now, I'll sort of, the few Mercedes that I've driven over the years, I've never owned one, but the few Mercedes that I've driven over the years, I really haven't liked. And if it came to, buying, I wouldn't even consider, I don't feel any connection to Mercedes. Whereas to Jaguar, I do. And although I do feel a connection to Tesla, it's not the same. I can't put my finger on it. I can't really explain it. But when it comes down to a sort of passion for a car and a connection to a car, and as car people, we do feel, we do feel a sentimental connection to our cars. You can't just drive anything. You can't just go and buy whatever to get you around. No. Can't do it. Can't do it. Even if I only had 500 quid to spend, I'd still choose carefully. I couldn't just.
You would.
Yeah, you couldn't just go and drive around in anything just to get you to the shops or whatever. Couldn't do it. No. So it would be XF or Tesla, and I love them both. I just feel that little bit more passion for the Jag. I hope that's not I don't think it's an electric car thing. I don't think I would. I don't know. They've not been around long enough to be able to say, really. But Dawn, my partner, didn't like the XF at all. Hated it. And I probably wouldn't be allowed to have another one. But she doesn't. She's fine driving the Tesla on a motorway. Won't drive it locally. It's fine on a cruise. Doesn't feel so big on the motorway. I think that's it.
Bit of room to manoeuvre there.
Yes, it does. It feels a lot smaller on the motorway than it does trying to get it up the high street. So, I think maybe that's part of it. But yeah, it's a really tough call, and there are days where my answer would probably be reversed.
That's okay. I think you're going to remain on the fence. I don't think I'm going to get an actual answer out of you, am I?
No, I don't think I can.
That's okay.
I can. And I think it would, as I say, I think it would vary as depending on when you asked me. And of course, we have gone for some period now where none of us have been driving as much, so maybe the connection to the car isn't as strong. I don't know.
Yes, that's all too familiar at the moment.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but yeah, right here, right now, the XF would probably pip it, even though the Tesla is probably a technically better car.
You're just bitter because it's got Mercedes things inside it.
True. I know. It's the bits you touch and feel as well. It's the steering wheel and the stalks. They're straight from an S-Class. It's very annoying.
Very
but
good.
There it is. Now your good self.
The best car I've ever owned. I'm not. There will be no umming and ahhing and no sitting on fences.
Sorry about
that. It is the Volvo.
Is it? Right.
That thing is. I've been everywhere in it, done everything in it, and it just keeps on going.
It just won't stop, will it?
Won't stop.
Yeah. No.
It's comfortable. It's quick when you need it to be. It's economical if you want it to be as well.
Yeah.
It's everything. You can fill it with shite.
There's something about an estate car. I like an estate car. I'd far rather have an estate car than an SUV. Every day.
Every day of the week, yes.
Yeah, every day. And it's a shame that they're kind of on the wane because the SUV just does not do it.
No.
It's not the same. A fast estate car is just cool. It just is.
It is, and it's practical.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of times that we've done several Le Mans runs in it now where it's 4 adults and a boot full of stuff.
Follows it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we did from Swindon to Le Mans back to Dover on one tank.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. Yeah.
And we weren't dawdling because the auto routes are quite friendly for a bit of speed. So I mean, not all the speed because the gendarmes are out in force when it's Le Mans.
Yeah, they will be. Yeah, they'll be behind every
easy
bush.
Money.
Yes, absolutely. Ooh, British people coming. Yes, British people coming.
Christmas parties on them.
Absolutely. Oh, they'll get you for anything. Any silly little thing they can think of. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, as I've summed that up swiftly, we're going to move on now to your best car that you've ever driven.
Best car I've ever driven.
It can be one you've owned. That's fine. It's just
yes, it would be the same answer. Before we bought, and this may not be the full answer. Before we bought the Model S, we did some test drives, and the test drive car that we had was a P100D Ludicrous, which is the at the time was the 2.3 seconds to 60.
Yeah.
Something like that. That was extraordinary because the salesman did put it into ludicrous mode at one point during the test drive and said, just give it the beans. And oh my word. I mean, mine's fast, but that was just off the charts. I have never experienced anything like that. That was extraordinary. So in terms of surprise performance, that I am also one of the few people that can say they've driven a DeLorean. Another car that fell to pieces.
No one's surprised. No,
indeed. Yes, I wouldn't describe that. Wouldn't appear on anybody's best car list by any stretch of the imagination. But it's a very unusual thing to have driven.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the Model S P100D Ludicrous was very special.
You think that's the one? I mean, that really is quite a standout. There's going to have to be something quite special to get near that.
Indeed. Well, I mean, to get that performance, you've got to spend a lot more than you can spend on any Tesla. To get that kind of acceleration, you're talking Bugattis and the like, aren't you? You're spending.
Oh, you need some exotic there.
Yeah, you really do to beat that performance, and that's a 2-ton, 5-seat saloon car. So it's I would say probably best car I've ever driven would be the Model S P100D Ludicrous. Yeah.
That's your firm choice.
That is my firm choice. Yeah.
Very good.
And yourself?
You see, I'm going to go the other way now and go. Well, I'm torn.
Okay. Okay. Your turn. Okay.
Yes. I'm neither of them my cars, but friends' cars. The two that I don't know if I could separate were Ben's '66 Mustang Fastback GT.
That's special. Yeah.
It was just technically awful to drive.
Yes. In no way is that a good car.
No. It was sort of triumphant vigor forwards, and lots of noise and theatre and smells.
Yes.
But then there's a corner and slowing down, and it didn't do either of those things.
Yeah. No, the corners are not its strong point. No.
But that doing the kick down on that and taking off on a straight bit of road with the colossal V8 noise. Oh yeah. Tremendous.
It's there, isn't it? Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. You say, it's like the DeLorean. It's in no way is it a good car, but it's just got something.
It's true, and I mean, I know his wasn't a '68, but it was green, and you do think, probably Steve McQueen. Yeah,
just for a second, Steve McQueen there. Yes.
Yeah, if anyone's looking in, they'll think, oh, it's like the reincarnation.
God, look at that! Are they filming a remake of Bullet here?
And the other one would be my friend Rob. I borrowed his Porsche 944.
Yes,
and I honestly didn't know what to expect of it. I'd been around that car so much and been a passenger in it for a long time before I ever got the opportunity to drive it. And then driving it and thinking, well, this can cope with corners, so this will be fine. It's it's not in Mustang territory where I must fear the corner. But it's still very analog. There's nothing on it that's going to help you.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, not even power steering.
Really? Okay, no, nothing at all. No.
Which I didn't know until I tried to get it off the driveway.
And you did. You pulled your shoulder or something, didn't you?
There was a lot of panting and grunting.
God, this is hard work.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that was a very good driving experience. That.
Yes, I can
really enjoy.
Yeah.
Wonderful noise. I mean, I think it's not what Porsche are renowned for. It's a 4-cylinder engine.
No, not at all. That's not really what they're about, is it? No.
But absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Really well balanced. Good noise. Good, and it still had. I mean, it's his car's an '83, so you think it's not modern motoring. So you've still got the smells and the noises, and it's
yes,
really very good.
It's very special. It's all part of it. All part of it. Yeah, I can see that. You've chosen well there. You've chosen well, but you can't pick one.
I couldn't pick either, and it's just interesting that I've sort of honed in on the stuff that's a bit, like I said, it's a bit grotty in the sense of you can smell the car before you've even got in it.
Yeah, but it's all part of it. I mean, cars are tactile. Cars are all about the sort of sensory perception, and that is one thing that's missing from electric cars. Of course, very why some people don't like them. They're very, very clean and clinical. You don't get any of that. Yes, you get the performance, but you don't get any of the stuff that goes around it. And a classic like the two you've described still have that, and I get it. Yeah, I can see that. That's important. And yes, a couple of interesting Interesting cars there. I have never driven a Porsche. I have been in a number over the years, but I've never driven a Porsche.
I have driven another one. I did drive Rob's again. He has two and still does actually. Yeah. I drove his Boxster.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, now that's a bit more tame.
It's a bit more tame. Obviously, it's a bit. It's got some electronics on there that mean you're not going to completely ruin yourself. But
it's a more modern car, isn't it?
It's a more modern car, and it was probably a better driving experience. And I borrowed it. It was during the winter, but it was a crisp few days that I had it. So lid off on and thought, well, here we go. That's it. It's going to be a bit chilly, but I'll put a coat on. And that's it. I mean, I'm a sucker for a flat six. Absolutely love that sound.
Yeah.
And his absolutely wonderful. And he picked that up for an absolute steal because it had the odd little thing broken on it and has really transformed it.
Right. Yeah. Well, a lot of people go for the Boxster because, I mean, they are, I suppose, less desirable and therefore a lot cheaper to buy. But it's still a proper Porsche, and you can still work on it, and but it is a lot easier to get on the ladder.
Yes,
one of those. Yeah,
it is incredibly well balanced. Being mid-engined, it doesn't suffer the same issues as a 911, where they've just spent decades of going, no, it'll be all right.
spent decades trying to engineer themselves out of that problem. Yes. As I say, I've never driven a 911. One of my earliest memories, my father for a while was a motoring journalist, and for a local newspaper, and he used to get a lot of different cars. And one of my earliest memories was of the 911 Turbo. It was the 80s, so it was the big wing on the back. It had everything.
Excellent.
It was a 911 Turbo in a very, very dark green. It was almost black. I don't know what the colour was. It was factory colour. It was a brand new car. And I remember, growing up in North Devon, you didn't see cars like that.
No, not
North Devon. It certainly got all the curtains twitching. Very unusual. And I remember him taking me out on that, and that was quite an experience as a young boy. In the 911 Turbo, and how the whole car would rear up when he put his foot down. Again, partly because of the terrible weight distribution, I suppose. But that was like nothing else. What a thing. Yeah, what a thing. That was quite extraordinary. He'll have pictures of it somewhere. He later had a 944 in red that he also did some testing on, but that was not. That didn't have the impact that the 911 Turbo did.
No. Once you've had that, that's going to be difficult to match, isn't it?
I think that those would have been the pinnacle of the cars that he had. I mean, there was loads of stuff. I remember an Austin Montego Estate. That was a slightly different experience. But
it's not quite as rock and roll, that one, is it?
Quite the same thing, is it? Really? No. No, he had all sorts over the years, but I think the 911 Turbo really sticks out in my memory.
Well, again, it's for the same reasons. It would have been such an assault on the senses.
Yeah, if your question had been best car you've ever been in, that purely because of the impact it had on me as a child. You mentioned recently that you'd watched the film Contagion. Very topical, obviously.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I kind of headed down a YouTube rabbit hole myself, which is not unheard of. There's a 70s TV show called Survivors, which is along the same theme. Virus wipes out 3/4 of the world's population, and it's about a small group of people who is set in the UK who kind of find each other and try and make something out of it, try and get themselves surviving. Hence the name of the TV series. But it starts off before the incident, the event, or whatever you might want to call it. Don't mention the event. there are two cars that feature quite prominently in the first few episodes. Well, one only in the first episode, but one in a number of the early episodes. The first one is a Jensen Interceptor.
Right. Very good.
Can't go wrong with that.
Not at all.
No, which they whiz around in a bit, or one of the characters whizzes around in a bit in the first episode. Then, at the end of the first episode and in subsequent episodes, this particular character is off around the countryside, basically looking for people. And her second car is a Volvo Estate. Now, this was obviously 1975. It was a Volvo 145. We're talking round headlight in the square aperture here.
Yep.
Volvo 145 in yellow. Now, I was watching this and I thought, that car is very familiar. I think I've seen that car somewhere else. About the right era. It's a BBC show. And I thought, where else have I seen that? I'm going to go and have a look.
Go on, and where did it turn up?
The same car, the exact same car, same number plate, DJH 180K, was Jerry's Volvo in The Good Life.
Good heavens.
Driven by Paul Eddington. It's the same car. And the first series of The Good Life was made the same year as the first series of Survivors. That car. Now, I've looked that car up on IMCDB. I don't know if that's a website you've come across. Probably is.
Yeah.
The car equivalent of IMDb. And it was a car owned by the BBC at the time. And they used it in both series.
That's interesting because it came up in a conversation with someone else the other day.
Really?
Yeah. It was off the back of the Late Break Show episode of the Volvo being unearthed from the garage.
That was a Volvo. That was either a 140 or a 145. It was one of the two, wasn't it?
I'm sure it was a 145 as well. And I was explaining to someone that I'd said that it was in The Good Life, and that there was one particular episode that I remembered where Jerry helped Tom and Barbara transport a goat home.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Indeed. And he has trouble getting the boot lid to stay open, I seem to remember. Well, it's the same car, and the character who drives it in Survivors has the same problem. She also can't get the boot lid to stay open. But that's because it is the exact same car. Yeah,
that's fantastic. An excellent spot. Well done.
It looked familiar, and I thought, I've got to check this out. Like, how many yellow Volvo Estates would the BBC have had at the time?
One, as it turned out.
Just the one, yes. And they shared it around. So there you go, DJH 180K. I don't know what happened to it in the end. The car, I guess they probably sold it off and it's long since been scrapped. But yeah, Survivors is a good series, actually. It's worth checking out.
It's one I've never heard of.
It's really good. There's no stars in it. It's completely void, but that just adds to the realism. It ran for 7 series, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. It was huge.
How did I miss that?
I know. I was unaware of it too. I just found it. But it's an apocalyptic, sort of aftermath thing. And it ran for 7 series. The Volvo didn't make it past the first 4 or 5 episodes because obviously the cars...
Well, Jerry needed it.
Well, quite, yes. He needed it in service where, mysteriously, everything was fine. But the cars sort of stop appearing in that series after the first series because, obviously, in the chronological storyline, they run out of petrol.
No, it's all gone a bit wrong, yes.
So they can't. But in the first series, there's some cracking motors. There's a couple of 3-door Range Rovers, Series 1s.
Nice.
There's a Bedford petrol tanker.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, there's some quite interesting stuff knocking about in the first few. There's a Mark III Cortina Estate. There's an Austin Maxi. There's loads of comma-based stuff. The ones where the wheels are really narrow track, but really wide body.
Yeah,
look like they're going to topple over at any moment. Loads of those.
Probably will.
Probably did. It's quite. The first series is quite good for nerdy car spotting.
That sounds good. I have to go YouTube hunting then.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, Survivors from 1975. It's worth a look.
Okay, here's something that really grinds my gears, gets on my tits, however you want to put it.
Whatever the phrase, yes.
Eating in cars.
No.
Specifically mine.
No, it's banned.
Oh, good. You're on the same wavelength then.
It's not allowed. It's just not allowed.
It goes everywhere.
Yes.
I had one particular thing leaps to mind, and having kids, you think it would be a child incident. Not at all. This was a grown adult that was the problem. We were doing something. It was a lads' excursion, and obviously take the Volvo.
Of course, yes.
And we got to a service station, and everyone went and did the thing that we entered that place at speed for. I don't know. It was one of those things that four blokes going. One suggests that they might need the loo, and then the other's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to pull over sharpish."
I'm gonna have to now.
Yeah.
Yes, it suddenly got really. I hadn't thought about it before, but he's right. It's now become quite urgent. Yes.
Yeah. So off we trot, and all we did was we had a toilet pit stop. No one went to the shop. No one went to a grotty fast food. It was fine.
That's good. That's focused.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Straight back in the car, and barely had I put my seatbelt on, there was this waft. Like, what the fuck is that? And we'd had an early morning departure, so it was barely 9 o'clock at this point, and we made it all the way to the M4. And Jay behind me decided it was time to tuck into some pasta that he'd fished out of the fridge before he left.
Oh, of course.
What are you doing, man?
No, not while the vehicle is in motion.
But fortunately, we weren't in motion. We were about to set off, and I'm just, why can I smell bolognese?
Oh, yes.
It's like, get out.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. He thought I was taking the piss. I was like, no, out.
That is not, no, that's not on.
Bolognese in a car?
That's not going to end well, is it?
I mean, oh dear. I mean, crumbs you can brush out, but bloody bolognese.
Oh, that's not good. That's not. He should know better than that. That's not good. That's not somebody who takes pride in his vehicle.
This is he did buy a Mark 1 MX-5 very cheaply after he shook on a bet to say that he would buy one within a year of the handshake. And true to his word, he did, but he didn't buy a particularly brilliant example. And when I say not brilliant, it used to be a drift car, still had some of the hydraulic gubbins in there. It wasn't really connected to anything. However, the handbrake lever for the hydraulic handbrake was a dildo.
Of course. What else? What else would it be? Of course. Absolutely. Yep. I mean, the MX-5 actually is a good car, but perhaps not that one.
No, he'll openly admit that was not his finest purchase.
That's an interesting chap who's owned that. I would say.
I don't want to. I really should consult with him, but I have a feeling that when he removed the dildo, he sold it on eBay.
Of course.
I'm not 100%, but I really think he did.
Well, again, what else would you do? I mean, if you don't have any personal use for such an item, yeah, I guess eBay.
They don't feature that on their TV adverts for eBay, do they?
Strange that. Yes, funny. Yes, they don't. Yeah, they don't use that as a marketing tool. No, indeed. You can even flog old. No, that's
no.
Okay, right. Was the car ever made roadworthy again, or he'd satisfied the bet? Then I used obviously the term "satisfied" in the loosest possible sense.
Yes.
Yes.
It was roadworthy for a while.
Right.
He did once arrive at my house in it.
Right. Okay. Sideways, obviously.
It was awful weather, so he didn't stand much of a chance.
No,
Because I was meant to go out for a spin in it. However, the weather was
Literally.
appalling. Literally, and
Literally.
it was pitch black and tipping it down. So you know what, I'm really not fussed about
I
going
think
out.
this is not going to end well. Is
It was cold, and in a soft top, yes, the roof was up, but it's not going to be warm.
Strange the choices people make, isn't it? Yes.
But he did win £100.
Well, fair dues, but I mean, MX5s, they're not in short supply. I mean, he could have got a better one, surely.
I think it was all that the budget allowed at that particular moment.
Fair dues. Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, that's quite a thing. Yeah. A former drift car with that for a gear stick. Yes. Lovely.
Yes, even what a
Classy.
lovely chap. Yeah, it suits him, to be honest.
Yes, although we have drifted. Yes, you want to do there from the original question, which was something about eating in a car.
Yeah,
which I do not allow either, although it has on occasions occurred. But the worst thing I've had in the current car, grass clippings all over the back seat.
What did you put that in there for?
I didn't, but my at the time 7-year-old son did.
How did it? He specifically set out to put them in there?
No, he was just covered in it, and it got in before I noticed.
Oh dear!
Everywhere. I bet there's still some in there now. I never get rid of it.
No,
never get rid of it. And speaking of hard to explain stains, there's also a weird mark on the back seat, which my mother-in-law deposited there, and I have never liked to go into it in any great detail. But it will not shift. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Heavens!
It will not. Fortunately, it's on the back of the seat, not the seat.
But that's just odd.
It was. It won't go. I cannot shift it. I've tried everything. I don't know what it is. It just won't. There's a little white. I've made it better, but it won't go away. There's a little white area. Obviously black interior, because obviously some Teslas come with a white interior. So we should clarify that, because obviously then I would never have noticed it. But it's there. It won't.
Good heavens!
Terrifying.
Our dear friend Phil. I once left a colossal stain on his passenger seat.
Of course you did. Yes.
Yes. There was a slight blunder.
A slight blunder. Knowing you, this could be anything.
No, it wasn't anything bad. We'd been go-karting in the absolute pissing rain.
Right.
And we'd had the waterproofs on and that, but as it turned out, the ones that you borrow from a go-kart place are not tip-top garments.
Strange, that. Yeah.
And obviously, with it raining and go-karts having little bucket seats, the water had pooled in the arse area.
Of course.
And that had got in, and I had quite to go down the bake-off route. It was a soggy bottom.
You had a damp area.
Yes, and I thought it had dried out sufficiently, but no. So I got in his nearly new Kia Ceed.
He did have a Ceed, didn't he? Yes,
he did.
I forgot that, yes.
And by the time we'd got all the way back to Barnstable, I'd left quite the mark.
Oh, I bet he was crazy about that.
That car was cursed as far as he's concerned.
Everything went wrong, didn't it?
Well, someone drove into it, something fell on it, a dog puked in it.
To be fair, nothing ever went wrong with the car itself, but he had the most spectacular bad luck with that car.
It was bad luck, yes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Everything that could have happened to it.
Yeah, and I'm proud to say I was a part of that.
Yeah, well done. You made it just that little bit worse for him. I applaud that. That's excellent.
Yeah, so you imagine taking that back after the finance deal was up and going, there's some sort of strange halo effect on the passenger seat.
Strange. I have no idea what that is. Design fault, I expect.
Yeah, so I've seen silly things like that done. I remember my friend Ben. He got into my aunt's almost new Mercedes A-Class and immediately put a cigarette burn in the seat.
Of course.
It's like, oh,
Of
good.
course.
I was like, they happened to be driving us somewhere. It's the first time they'd even met him, and he'd burnt a hole in their car.
Oh, that's making a good impression, isn't it?
Thank you for that, mate. That's absolutely wonderful. Yes, you've achieved wonderful things there.
Dear. I once, as a very small boy, took a lump out of the paint on my father's brand new car.
Oops. What did you do?
I was throwing a stone, as I remember it. Only
Obviously.
I let go of it at the wrong moment and it went backwards.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and it bounced off the middle of the bonnet of a car that was literally months old.
I'd imagine he was elated, wouldn't he?
Oh, delighted with that one. Yeah.
Oh,
that was
dear.
another car. That was another car that was cursed.
What was it, out of interest?
It was. Now I need to get the mark right because it's critical. It was a Ford Escort Estate. Let me just look up what mark that was. What would it would have been 1990. It was the one that was widely regarded as the worst one they ever made. Not sure what mark that is.
90.
Mark.
That would have been, from memory, I'd say 4, but
it was an H plate. Let's think. It would have been a Mark 4, like you say.
Yeah, I'm sure. There we go.
5.
Yeah, just looked it up actually quickly.
Oh, well done.
Fourth generation was 86 to 92.
Yeah, he had the most spectacular bad luck with that. Again, people running into it and just stuff generally.
There's some cars are like that, aren't they?
Yeah. I remember when he sold it, the guy who came round to buy it was looking at one of the front wings, I can't remember which one, saying, "Oh, this is a slightly different colour." It was silver, so hard colour to match. And this wing looks like a slightly different colour. Has that been replaced? And my dad could honestly answer, no. That's the only panel that hasn't been replaced.
Say everything else.
I don't think he volunteered that second bit of it. No, that panel is original.
Well, I didn't ask any follow-up questions, so that's fine.
I don't think so. So yeah, it was one of those, an estate in silver. He had such terrible luck with that car. He had a motorbike run in the side of it one morning, and rider across the bonnet, and
bloody hell!
Yeah. I had some really horrendous luck with that car. It was really bad. That was only his second brand new car he'd ever bought, because he had a Mark 3 Escort Estate, brand new, a 3-door. It was the last 3-door Escort Estate.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
that car was really solid. He did nearly 200,000 miles in that. That was bomb-proof. But the one that followed it was not.
Blimey.
Yeah, that was some cars, like you say, they just have bad history.
Yeah, my Civic that I had was, I mean, not horrifically cursed, but if anything was going to go wrong, it was that bloody thing.
Yeah.
And it was just a pain in the arse most of the time.
Some cars are, though, aren't they? They're just destined to not be decent.
It was my own fault as well, because when I used to commute in that, I had to leave it in a public car park.
Yeah.
And the amount of the one time, I mean, yes, you're gonna get dings.
You are. Yeah.
But the door caved in one day.
Oh no! Oh, come on!
How have you done that? And then felt the need to drive off.
Of course. Oh yeah. Most people will, if they can get away with it, they will.
I mean, it wasn't my favourite car, and it was fine. It's still annoying when it's your car being twatted.
Absolutely. I mean, it's annoying enough if you do it yourself, and we've all damaged our own cars.
Yes.
I have a habit of damaging them when they're quite new, or new to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it takes me a while to get used to a car. I don't know.
Just settle it in with a
I do have a history of bashing things when I've not had them very long.
Did you bash the Tesla?
I haven't bashed the Tesla, but someone else did.
I was going to say it's had a bashing, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has had a bashing. It's had it's had two bashings on the front, neither of which I did. I mean, they're both relatively, minor, but yeah, when it was, I'd had the car about 3 weeks, and somebody reversed into it in a car park.
Yes, I remember you telling me about that one.
Oh, I was so angry.
Oh,
I was so angry.
To be honest, I remember the second incident, and I caught you about 5 minutes afterwards.
Yes.
Oh,
ooh, Mr. Angry. Yes.
Give him a wide berth.
Yes. Oh dear. Yes, I remember it was a Chrysler Voyager with a stupid tow bar on the back, and the guy just went backwards at quite high speed and then buggered off.
Tit.
Yep, I saw it. I watched it happen, but I couldn't get across the car park in time. Smashed the front number plate, which, to their credit, Tesla replaced free of charge. They didn't have to. Wasn't exactly a failure of the car. But they sent me a new bracket, a new number plate, and sorted it out. There is to this day a small. I shouldn't say this in case the finance company listens, but there is to this day a small dent, but you can't see it because the number plate holder goes over the top of it.
That's fine. It's not there.
It's just absolutely. Yeah, that was. But it's going to happen. I mean, the problem with a car like that is that it's so big, it overhangs every parking space.
Yes, it's not built for British roads, really.
It really isn't. Well, no, I hear somewhere that the average British car parking space is still based on the dimensions of Ford Sierra.
Well, having parked in them, I'd say yes.
I can't go anywhere where I'm not overhanging the back, the front, and sometimes the sides as well.
Oh, good heavens!
But, it's no bigger than a Range Rover. But I think there is a case for making parking spaces in this country a bit bigger.
Yeah, it wouldn't go amiss. Trying to put a Volvo in a multi-story car park is, I mean, you got to psych yourself up for it.
I can't even consider a multi-story. I'd need medical treatment. I would.
No, I'm all right in the sense of mine's not in the slightest bit valuable. So
there is that. Yes, there is that advantage, and I might head that way for a little bit myself, but that's another subject. But when you have something big and quite new, and the finance company's going to shout at you if it's particularly badly bashed,
that's it. Yeah, you look for the bigger space.
You do look for the big. You do, and you are restricted on where you can slot it in.
Oh.
And multi-stories aren't the place.
And that's a sweeping statement, I'd say.
That is absolutely a sweeping. There's too much we in the lift for a start.
Oh, what is it about that? I mean, it actually, in fairness, I did use a multi-story car park in Utrecht in Holland, and
that's a bold.
It was a palace.
Really? Okay.
With it being Holland, it's very much bikes and
I suppose so,
and all the pedaling. So driving a car into a city centre was very much frowned upon, and we had to pay through the nose to park it. But it was a wonderful parking experience.
Oh, well, fair enough then. Almost worth it then.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I tell people about it all the time. my favourite car park.
That should be another question we ask. Your best parking experience. Oh, very good. And yours was Holland. Absolutely.
It was.
Very good.
Yes, and in fairness, I'll tell you another thing as well about Holland. The roads were fantastic. And we had a pit stop in Holland to go and sample some of the sites, but our destination was Germany.
Okay, yeah.
And in my head, I'd never been to Germany. In my head, I was expecting like the silkiest, smoothest roads, very efficient, wonderful. And we crossed the border. I mean, obviously, you don't get stopped at the border, but there was a bit where Holland ended and Germany started. Yeah. And it's like, we're driving off road, are we?
Yeah, really? That bit can't be worse than Italy.
No, it's not as bad as Italy, but we hit that, and we hit an unrestricted bit of autobahn. And in the pissing rain, and we thought, well, we'll be all right. We can give it some beans, but we could not give it some beans because they didn't appear to have much camber on the road, so the water just sat on it.
Oh,
it was lethal.
You don't expect that from Germany, do you?
No, the
Home
car
of the
was all
ultimate
over the shop.
driving machine.
Oh dear.
No.
We got to our hotel a bit rattled.
I'm surprised. I mean, I've driven in Italy. That was very bad.
No, I've never piloted a vehicle in Italy. I've been in a car, but I've not been in control of it.
In all my time in Italy, I did not see a car that wasn't damaged in some way.
No, that's true.
Everything just has some sort of dent, scrape, a smashed light, scraped out, everything. It doesn't matter what it is. From the cheapest Fiat to the most expensive Lambo, everything. It's damaged.
It's really weird. There was one bit I particularly liked when we were strolling around Rome, and there was quite clearly a sort of a main artery this road was, and there was sort of several lanes on either side of the road with a sort of a steel central reservation between. And we were using the bus, and we were going along and just glancing out the window, the sights going, this is lovely. And then embedded in the central reservation, smart car.
Of course.
What was it? Just in it.
There you go. There it is.
And they left it there. That clearly, it had got green things growing on it. A wheel was
there
missing.
A while.
Yeah.
Right. Very good. Spares or repair. That's what it is.
Yeah. That'll have been on eBay somewhere.
Absolutely. We took, myself and the lovely lady I went to Italy with, we took a coach tour on one occasion. Zooming down the motorway we were. I use the term motorway in its loosest possible sense. Very narrow dual carriageway is more of what we would
that's their motorways.
Yes. And potholes all over the place. In a very the best of coaches, kind of wander all over the place. Very bouncy vehicles, and the driver decided to, the immaculately dressed driver, of course.
Oh yeah, like a male model.
Obviously, yes. He decided to overtake another coach. This thing was so narrow and bouncing all over the place, but he was going so fast that whilst going past the coach, they bumped mirrors that at about 70 miles an hour.
Bloody hell.
Oh, terrifying. But there was no acknowledgement from either of the drivers. It's just clearly that's just a daily account. Oh, yeah, my mirror's moved a bit. I'll stick my arm out in a minute and put that back. It's like, not that they probably need the mirrors.
No. Why would you want to see what's behind?
But the road was so narrow, they were close enough to do that. And it was swaying around so much because of the potholes and the uneven surface. So it's just, that's what happens. Bit of touching on the way. Not like that.
No. Dirty coach.
Dirty. Yeah, it wasn't that sort of tour. That was the day we were going to Siena, the week before Bond arrived.
Oh, for a bit of Quantum of Solace.
Quantum of Solace. We were there. We were in that square where they do the big horse race the week before the filming started.
You could have timed that even better, couldn't you?
Although, to be fair, another week's time and we wouldn't have got near it.
No, it's true. Actually, no, you wouldn't have actually been able to go there. But
no, so
you could have waved at Daniel.
Could have, Danny, something like that. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. You would become friends instantly.
Would have been fine. Oh, lifelong.
Yeah.
Would have been great.
Yes. Missed him by a week. And
missed opportunity. He doesn't know what he missed out on. Really, he could have been a guest on our podcast, couldn't he?
No, as we learnt from last episode, he didn't learn to drive until Bond.
That's very true. Well, if the former Stig is to be believed, yeah.
Well, this is true. Yes,
that's what he said. I believe he taught Daniel Craig to drive on a racetrack in a stunt car.
In at the deep end.
Right in. Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's enough of us for 1 week. It's about time to wrap things up. Thank you very much for listening.